Hey, welcome to episode 5 of The Blueprint. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about what I call the cheat code for your paid advertising.
Wonder.
All right, guys, so what do I mean by the cheat code for your paid ads? Well, if you guys were gamers back in the day when you were kids like I was, you'll remember that back when we used to play Super Mario Brothers, Sonic the Hedgehog, Crash Bandicoot, you would remember that cheat codes were actually a combination of buttons that if you entered them correctly, you would get a special ability, a special weapon, or it would open up a secret passageway in the game that wasn't meant for regular gamers. And the purpose of these cheat codes were actually designed by the developers of the games themselves in order to give them an edge so that they can complete the game much quicker and easier. And the reason for that was because, if you're testing hours and hours and hours of gameplay, you don't want to have to battle the boss getting killed 100 times and have it to start over, because then it would make your job a lot harder. So they created these cheat codes to make their job easier. Well, eventually these developers started to release these cheat codes into the world, and gamers through forums and underground gamer magazines would get access to these cheat codes, and then they would spread around, and only the certain types of gamers would get access to these cheat codes, and they would be able to use these cheat codes to get these special abilities. Well, in the advertising world, what I call the cheat code for paid ads is what we call artificial intelligence, or AI. And the thing that the AI does specifically that I think is a cheat code is what's known as machine learning. Now, the definition for machine learning is actually a subfield of AI, or artificial intelligence. It is devoted to the understanding and building of methods that learn, right? It leverages data to improve the performance on certain tasks. Now, the reason this is relevant is because AI in itself is the simulation of human intelligence by machines. So if you're going to simulate intelligence of a human being, you also want to simulate how human beings learn as well. And the reason for this is because AI is designed so that machines can take over certain tasks that are given to humans. And in the case of advertising, when we're talking about analyzing thousands and thousands of data points, it would take a company to hire hundreds of data scientists in order to process all of that data in the amount of time that you would need in order to make a quick decision, like capturing somebody the moment they're ready to buy something on your website. Now, why is this important? Why do we need machines to take over doing something what a human can do? Well, according to a recent study back in 2018, Facebook itself has over 52,000 data points that it analyzes per user. That's right. You have 52,000 different things that Facebook knows about you in your user profile. And if that sounds crazy, even if we look at Google, which is a much larger platform with a much larger user base, they have 3 times the amount of users than Facebook. So imagine how many more data points that they have. If you take a look at your screen, you guys are going to see an example of all the data points that Google analyzes. Now, this is my Google account, and these are all of the data points that Google analyzes when looking at my user profile. You can see it knows that I'm between the ages of 18 to 44 years old. It knows I'm a male. It knows I speak English and potentially one more language because I live here in Canada and the secondary language is French. It knows that I'm into advertising and marketing, and it knows that I'm into basketball, cars, fitness. Now, why is this important for the advertiser? Well, it's important for you to know that the platforms that you're advertising on know down to the minute data point of all of their users, right? And the reason this is important is because when it comes to things like tracking, when it comes to things like creating your advertising, you're gonna wanna know all of the things that your customer personas are into so that you can create the right ad creative to capture their interest and get them to click on that link. Now, when it comes to machine learning, there's actually a lot of different processes, because machine learning in itself, there isn't one algorithm that is meant for machine learning. In fact, machine learning's very purpose is not to use algorithms, but to build algorithms. So the process within machine learning that AI tools and softwares use is learn, predict, and then improve. So you feed data to the machine, right? So in this case, you're feeding Facebook and Google the data. They then are able to take that data, and based on all of that data, they're able to make a predictive outcome, right? They're able to predict an outcome for you. And based on how correct or how accurate that outcome is, they then will make an improvement in order to make an even better prediction down the line. So the more data you feed these machines, the more they're able to predict outcomes and the more accurate they become. So instead of doing what most traditional digital marketers do, which is try to stifle the platform and limit how much you're giving the platform, we want to feed these platforms as much data as possible, because it only gives us an advantage if we're able to show the platform exactly what we're trying to do. So now let's get into the advertising process and how machine learning can actually help your ads get better over time. So the advertising process is broken down like this. First, you have your campaign objective, right? You have your goal of the actual campaign. And then you have your bidding strategy. So how do you actually bid on these ads, right? How do you actually get these ads in front of the user, right? Then you have your targeting, right? So who are the different types of people that you're actually trying to reach? And then you have the actual creative. So the actual ad itself is in the last phase of this flow, right? So the ad creative in itself, before you even get there, you actually want to feed it all this other data first, right? So let's actually figure out what this means when it comes to machine learning. So we're gonna start from the ad creative and work our way back, and we're gonna see how important it is. So when it comes to ad creative, machine learning actually can help you to figure out the best headlines, the best descriptions, and the best images or videos, depending on which platform you're using, to make the user do what you need them to do. And in terms of an ad, you want them to click on the ad. We want the headline and the description and the image or the video to match where they are within their journey, right? And you as the marketer now, you have to give the machine as many headlines and as many descriptions as possible in order for it to understand which combination works the best. Instead of just working through trial and error, you can feed it multiple headlines and multiple descriptions and multiple images and multiple videos, and essentially just let the machine try different things. Because like I said, if we go back to my earlier point, these machines have so many data points. It understands users in so many different ways based on how they use their profiles, that we'd only be guessing as marketers, right? We'd only be guessing as business people. Let the actual platform utilize the data points that it has to your advantage. You feed it the messaging that you want, right? By understanding your customer persona, understanding the stage in their customer journey that they're at, and understanding what your solution is as a business. You figure out all those parts and just let the platform do the targeting and the ad creative and all that kind of stuff, right? Let them figure that part out, right? It's gonna make our jobs as media buyers and as marketers and as business people a lot easier if we just give the tool the information. So the next thing that we want to focus on within our advertising process is the targeting. Now, when it comes to machine learning, we want to go, instead of doing it the old way, which is constrict the targeting, instead of going narrow, we want to go broad. We want to feed the platform with as many different types of users as possible. And the reason for that is because it's going to take the creatives and it's going to basically show all of that to as many different audiences as possible. And the audiences that it resonates with the most, right? So the audiences that click the most and convert the most are going to be the audiences that it records as successful audiences. The platform eventually will understand the best types of user accounts to show these ads to, right? And basically, instead of us having to figure out all this targeting and technical stuff, the ad platform will do it for us, and it does this because of its machine learning capabilities. And the next thing that we're gonna go back to, right, we're working backwards now, is we're gonna talk about the bidding. Now, when it comes to advertising on platforms and when it comes to bidding strategies, I personally feel like when it comes to Google, we wanna let Google handle their bidding, right? So we wanna use smart bidding, and if you're a business owner, you want to bid against conversions. You don't want to, try to trick the system by bidding against website traffic, because then you're not going to necessarily get the best type of user, right? So we want to go broad with our targeting, and we want Google to only target users that convert. So in this case, right, machine learning, with you feeding it all the creative and you going broad on the targeting, you want the platform itself to bid on the inventory, right? So you don't want to have to do the bidding. You don't want to guess the CPM, right, which is cost per 1,000 impressions, and you don't want to guess the CPC, or the cost per click, because if you're only bidding on clicks that cost you $1, but the real people convert at $2 or $3, you're gonna miss out on a ton of conversions because you're being cheap, right? I'd much rather pay double for the right type of customer that I know is gonna have lifetime value than to bid on people because the cost of the click is cheaper than the other one. That's not really a smart way to do business. So instead of me manually bidding, I would much rather let the platform bid itself. Obviously, the final portion of the advertising flow is the actual campaign objective. And the campaign objective really is the easiest thing, right? It's understanding your goal as a business. So when we spoke about the marketing funnel and we said, we want customers that make decisions at the end of the day, when we are setting up our campaigns, we always want to set up our campaigns that focus on conversions, right? And at the campaign level, if we are feeding it all types of creatives and headlines and descriptions, if we are feeding it if we are going broad on our targeting, and if we are letting the platform bid on our inventory, then what's going to happen is all of this data is going to be fed back to the platform on a campaign level. And once you get enough data, you can do really cool things, right? And the reason you want to do this is not because we're lazy, and it's not because we don't value media buyers and all the training that they go through, because I'm a media buyer, right? And I'm saying this. The reason is because it makes our job easier, guys. It's the cheat code here. Facebook and Google, they don't want just our money. They also want us to get more customers. They want us to succeed. I used to work for Google, I know this. The reason they want us to succeed, guys, is because guess what? If you made $100,000 extra per month in sales because your campaigns in Google were doing much better, what do you think you're gonna do with your budget? You're gonna up your marketing budget. Why? Because you want your campaigns to make you more money. The more ad spend you spend and the more conversions you get, the more you're gonna spend next month. So the better your campaigns do, the more money Google makes and the more money Facebook makes, because that's how they make their money. They make their money from advertisers. So the more data, the reason these campaigns don't do as well is because we're not doing a good enough job understanding our customer personas. We're not doing a good enough job and building our marketing funnels, and we're not doing a good enough job designing our customer journeys. That's why these campaigns don't work. It's not the platforms, guys. It's us. When we can figure out all the different things that go behind the scenes of an ad campaign, it's just printing money at that point, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you get the highest ROAS that you can, right? Return on ad spend that you can. And we're going to talk about this in a future video, so I'm not going to go into ROAS right now, but this is basically the point. This is why machine learning and AI is the cheat code for advertising, because the more we work with these platforms, the more data we feed these platforms, the better they get. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you guys like this video, please show me some love by hitting the like button. And if you guys haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications by hitting that bell. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out for now. Wonder.